Hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forums, the Regenesis Talks, a LinkedIn Live episode 217. And to have the special episodes that we are going on throughout this month, we are celebrating the women's leadership in the month of March 2025, where we talk about her voice, her power, her story, her journey, and her impact. To have the topic we are discussing today is on the topic of the difference why women must shape our futures and wealth. To have this topic discussed, we have our women speaker of Regenesis, Angelina Elry, and Thomas, Rajiv, and Sunil also joining us along with the women leader today. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest team speakers to the podcast. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Prem. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Thomas. Once you introduce Angelina, I'll bring her onto the screen.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. I guess it's a big day for us today, and thank you for including us in this important month celebrating women in leadership, in fact, women's role in the world. And the way we process this is to think again about how we're approaching the Genesis. We're very fortunate in as much that we ourselves have our own woman chief executive, Angela Ellery. She's joining us today. But before we dive in, I just wanted to say a few words about our overarching subject for the month. And in fact, we're going to go one extra into April as well. We think of Regenesis as something we've all done for the world. And very much central to that is seeing women as wealth co-creators. We know that when we work together, we get better results. And on that note, I guess before we dive in, I just want to invite all serious men and women leaders to check out the Regenesis Growth Program. This is for people who want to do less and grow more, to reclaim hidden profits and career growth, as is everybody's right, and to stay to the end for the details of how to get into that. But right now, I would like to welcome our guest, which is Angela Ellery, our CEO, to introduce this special series of 5 sessions on women as wealth co-creators. And today's session, I think, is Difference: Why Women Must Shape Our Future and Wealth. Angela, over to you.
Thank you, Thomas. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today as we celebrate International Women's History Month. I'm excited to open this series of talks to explore the theme of women as wealth co-creators. Women's History Month shines a light on the overlooked achievements and contributions of women who have been transformative force in reshaping society, economic and political landscapes of worldwide. It also brings to our attention the societal, economic and political barriers that have historically restricted women's roles and opportunities in organisations. Historically, women have navigated a path fraught with inequality and barriers. Entrenched gender bias often goes unnoticed, but its impact is profound. It limits women's career potential, impacts their well-being, and reinforces harmful stereotypes. Although there's been significant progress, women still face a lot of challenges, from gender pay gaps and unequal opportunities to underrepresentation in leadership roles and vulnerability to violence. Addressing this issue is essential for both individual and organisational success. Organisations across the globe are increasingly acknowledging that empowering women leads to more resilient economies, stronger communities, and overall better outcomes for society. Research also shows that gender-balanced leadership teams are more productive, innovative, and financially successful. Gender bias is a societal issue and requires collective action. Women should be empowered to address it, but male allies and leaders of all genders also play a vital role in fostering equality. Equality and inclusion are key values of Regenesis. We believe there is a fundamental equalness of all human worth. We are neither more nor less than one another. We are different, that is all. And in difference, there is great strength. The Regenesis program helps women recognize their own worth, abilities, and potential. It starts with shifting perspectives from self-doubt to self-belief and creating a mindset that supports resilience and confidence. We must move beyond outdated agendas, educate and inspire future generations to promote gender equality and true wealth for society. Women are natural wealth creators. We have a major role in nurturing and educating the minds, bodies, and hearts of our families and communities. When we talk of wealth, we mean true wealth, not just monetary gain. True wealth includes growth, sustainability, quality of life, resilience, and long-term prosperity. This is what brings us freedoms, security, and safety that are essential to shape a sustainable future. On that note, let's hear from Thomas, creator of Regenesis, on what we mean here. Thomas, what do you think we mean by wealth creation?
Well, I think this is really central to everything that we stand for. And as you just mentioned, one of our central values is a key notion that we're neither more nor less than one another. We're different, that is all. And in difference, there is great strength. And nowhere is this more important than having a balance of masculine and feminine thinking, because they're different perspectives. But added together, they're a much bigger perspective that takes in the whole system. If Regenesis is one thing, it's a whole system device for helping a company and helping managers, whether they're male or female, to be more prosperous and more profitable and more successful in their lives. Historically, I think wealth had a much wider meaning. It wasn't just about money, which is, we tended to focus on what I call thin wealth today. It's just about money, but you can't have money as a representation of the value that passes between people without a much wider being. So wealth has to also be about well-being. It has to be about prosperous, thriving, harmonious society, and a thriving society, and not just financial gain. Very much the Regenesis perspective is that wealth cannot be sustained if it's built on any form of exclusion or short-termism. It's no good going for the quick rush for money in the short term if it costs in the long term for sustainability, or incomplete one gender or another style masculine or feminine leadership thinking. That won't do it. What we know is that in order to be all that we're capable of being, that is the goal, requires masculine, object-oriented thinking, sure, but we must have much better feminine, relationship-oriented thinking added to it, because then you begin to understand the whole system and how it can all thrive. Because if one bit is suffering, then society cannot be thriving. And that's the simple lesson that we see around the world. That's all any of us have to do, is to look around the world and see countries and whole societies where things are not well, things are not thriving because somebody is being disadvantaged. So I guess today it's about looking at that masculine dominated conversation, which is focused on control, accumulation, and efficiency, and recognizing that true wealth demands instead that we expand to collaboration, sustainability, and relationship-driven systems. So that's my view of things. So back to you, perhaps, Angela. What do you make of what I've just said?
So yes, I completely agree. If we recognize that true wealth is not complete without acknowledging both the feminine and masculine contributions, then maybe we need to look back and just check out why do we think the growth of wealth has been so male dominated in the past. And Prem, maybe you could talk us through this. Why has wealth creation historically been seen as a male domain?
Angela, hi. So, looking at what we have seen today, right? Historically, industrial age, where we saw predominantly men being part of it, and the hierarchies and the controls that were there predominantly on the men's side. So that's where we see that kind of a shift that was there, which was there earlier. And when it comes to wealth creation and the management of home, historically women have always contributed to the economy systems, but largely excluded from the decision making pointer, right? So that's where women have been part of. Now, how do we look at this when we look at cost exclusion? When systems over rely on masculine thinking, they become brittle and short term focused and fail to optimize human potential. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Prem. So the cost of exclusion and failure appreciate the unique capabilities and perspectives of women has been huge. It's held us back from true growth, the creation of more balanced, equitable, wealthy society. And what then, if that's the case, what then can we learn from the lessons of history? Maybe Sunil, you could add to this. What do you think? What happens when leadership lacks a feminine perspective?
Uh, in fact, this is very, very important point, and I will say that when the leadership is not maintaining the balance between these two, then that is a great loss for organization, for the whole world. And I will say there is a challenges. There are basically three challenges. I will say the first is decision making gaps. So organizations that lack relationship oriented thinking struggle with talent retention, a stakeholder alignment, and long term resilience. The second is economic proof. The research from McKinsey and Harvard shows that gender driven leadership teams outperform homogeneous teams by up to 25% in profitability and resilience. So just you can imagine that this 25% profitability loss is a big loss if the leadership is not thinking not taking the consideration of feminine perspective. The third important thing is innovation gap. When you are not giving the priority and you are not having this leadership feminine perspective, you are not creating an environment for innovation, because half of the thought what should come within the organization, that is not coming. You are not giving opportunity to them. So the biggest barrier to progress today, like climate change, governance failures, economic disparity, these problems cannot be solved with traditional masculine thinking alone. So the leadership has to think regarding this, that there's lacking in economic profitability, there is economic innovation gap, and there is a decision making gaps. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you, Sunil. So we know that collaborative integration, leadership of women and men produces better outcomes, more innovation, better economies. As you point out, the research shows that companies with greater representation of women outperform those with less. Why then has the shift been so slow, I wonder? Prem, if we could turn this question to you, back to you again. Why do you think organizations struggle to integrate women's leadership fully?
Thank you, Angela, for that. I think it is more looking at the entrenchment biases. Even progressive organizations will still continuously unconsciously look at design systems favoring masculine leadership styles. And these styles have been not today, they have been prevalent for a very long time. And this is one kind of hindrance that we have looking at what is happening today. Coming to some of the often differences and success metrics that are prioritization are looking at collaboration, ethical leadership, and sustainable growth. Yet these are undervalued in traditional businesses, and women often have a challenges, is what it has been perceived, right? So performance misconception is one of the pointer that we have when we talk about this women management into leadership fully. Then comes the systemic inheritance. Boards and executive teams are risk averse, and integrating new management and leadership paradigms mean challenging deeply ingrained habits, which I think is a problem that we face while we have new members joining, and that's one another criteria that is happening to you, Angela.
Thank you, Prem. So the journey towards gender equality is not without its challenges, including a strong masculine style of leadership. Yet the strong spirit and determination have gradually rewritten the roles of women
Yeah.
and perceptions in society. This journey towards empowerment is not just about achieving gender equality, it's a multifaceted issue, recognizing and valuing the inherent strength, capabilities, and rights of women in shaping systemic change. What first steps do we need to take towards this systemic change? Thomas, can I come back to you? Perhaps you could then throw some more light on this. How do we start designing a leadership model that fully integrates both masculine and feminine strengths?
Well, that's a really important question. And Regenesis does set out to be that model. We've spent a very, very long time making sure that the frameworks that we've used work as well for our women colleagues as they do for our men, that they are accessible to everyone and things that everybody can make sense of. So that says to me that we have done as much as we can so far, and there's still more to do to make sure our approach properly integrates both masculine and feminine structures. And that's really important, because when you're running a healthy organization, you need both aspects. And we need to make sure that we continue doing that work. Obviously, the whole dynamic is changing. I think some of the things that we've done over the last perhaps 20, 30 years have both helped and not helped. An example of that is where we tried to balance leadership by using quotas, for example, without making any real change. So we've made quotas so that women get included in the leadership structure or the management structure, but then we've not given them the roles that make the most difference. And it's only in more recent times that we've seen really high profile, large organizations take on women chief executives who are very successful and take the organization onto new frontiers. But more than that, I think where we're at as a team is thinking that we need to be co-creative. We need to automatically build in, just as we do in life, where obviously approximately half the population is male and half the population is female. We're designed that way for a reason, because if you want to have the means to support life ongoing, then of course you must have both approaches. Neither one gender nor the other can survive alone. We need each other. And in a working life, in any working life, in any country, then obviously the work of both genders is vital to ensure the renewal of the species, the ongoing maintenance of our society, the running of families, the running of whole businesses, the running of the whole ecosystem has to rely on both working together and collaborating together. What I'd be interested in is to open the conversation briefly to my two colleagues and see if you've got anything to add on that from your perspectives. Sunil, in particular, I know that you have good views on this topic too. So I'd be interested in what you have to say on that particular subject.
Yeah, Tom. Yes,
Hello.
Sunil.
So did you get that question, Sunil?
So, can you
Yeah, I was
repeat
just
it?
talking about how much we need to use an integrated approach and how Regenesis is built on integrating both masculine and feminine leadership styles and approaches and thinking methods in lots of the models that we use. And I know that you also have a lot of experience of managing quite large workforces and consulting with many companies in this area. So I just wondered if you'd like to add anything more on that.
Yeah, basically, Thomas, we have discussed a lot of times regarding two things. That totally depends. That in organization it is top-down approach. So the thought of leadership is very, very important. Leadership should understand that when you are utilizing your half of the population and you're having this diverse workforce, you are creating a great environment. And I think in India also, with my experience, I will say that lot of organization is working towards it and they're getting benefit out of it. So that is a demonstrated things. I'm just naming one organization that is called Wellspun. So the CEO of that organization, Wellspun Textile, is Mrs. Dipali Goenka, and she is focused, and we have seen the difference when she has pushed this case and the way we are driving these changes and how this changes is bringing the result. So our CHRO, we are having a women candidate. Then we are having in SCM's supply chain management, we are having women candidate. And in these leadership roles, when that has been given to them, and when the opportunity come to them, we have seen the differentiation, that how this thought process in the boardroom get changed. So that changes is happening across the globe. In India also, that changes is happening. And if that changes happens, that gives a great result to the organization. So leadership has to understand that, and leadership has to act on it. At the Regenesis, as you have told, with your experience, that you are basically mentoring the leadership and creating those thought process within the leadership, that how this will get benefited to it. So over to you, Angela.
Thank
Good,
you,
thank
Sunil.
you. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to hear of some good practices forging positive change in India. Certainly, designing an integrated leadership model is about building a future where gender equality is not just an aspiration, but a reality, where every woman can realise her full potential, not restricted by social barriers. In Regenesis, we want to empower women through the Regenesis Growth Programme. The programme is created also to help women specifically to feel in control of their own life and decisions, to recognise what's truly important to them as women, as individuals, and to align their own actions accordingly. It helps to install trust in skills, particularly for women, and abilities to achieve their goals. And to know, for women, to know that their actions do make a difference to their own lives and the lives of others. So we'll continue on this subject throughout March. We're focusing on the empowerment of women in management. In this first week, the key takeaways, I think, have been that wealth is more than just money. It's also about resilience, sustainability, and long-term prosperity. True wealth demands the full balance complement of female as well as male perspectives. And empowering women involves both women and men recognizing the true wealth we bring in collaboration and restructuring decision making. And maybe a question for you, the audience, to take away. what is one area in your organisation or industry where female leadership thinking is missing? And what impact would it have if it were integrated? Something to think about. Next week, join us for Synergy, what unlocks women and men driving growth together. We'll dive into how businesses and governments can do what they can do practically for integrating leadership.
That's great. Go on.
Thank you. I was going to say back to you, Thomas, just to close.
Okay. Thank you very much for hosting and kind of managing our conversation today. It started to make us, as the masculine members of the Regenesis team, starting to make us perhaps think a bit more deeply about how we're working and how proactively we're enabling women to join, be part of. I don't think join is the right word. Masculine and feminine thinking are complementary, not competing. So it's exactly as you said. And I think for far too long, there has kind of been a presumption of one size fits all in leadership approaches. But actually, what we're attempting to do here, and we can undoubtedly do more even within Regenesis, is creating systems where both masculine and feminine strengths are actively drawn forward and actively used in decision making. We don't want simply a leadership with women in it model. We actually need and want to move, and what Regenesis is trying to achieve is a co-stewardship of the future model. And this is not about inclusion, it's about intelligent, integrated, working together. And I don't think we can settle for anything less. And that, for me, are some of the big points emerging from today's session. So, as our regular listeners on the outside, and hopefully quite a few new people listening today, if today's session made you think, whether you're a woman or a man, imagine what our full program will do for you. Click the link at the end of the session here that Prem will provide, or speak to any of us, contact any of us online, and just reach out, have a conversation, and use that link to secure a place on the Regenesis growth program before the next batch closes. You would be more than welcome to join us. We're moving quite fast now, and the growth of the program is storming ahead, but we will be sure to give room to any of you that make contact, particularly after this session. So thank you very much for listening today, and maybe back to Prem. What's going on next week, Prem? I think you've got a few things up your sleeve there.
Yeah, Thomas, thank you for that, Angela, Sunil, and Thomas adding the pointers today. And we have a couple of lineup that we are doing starting this month, starting from yesterday. This is going to be a series of events that we are planned, and this is going to be a celebration of women leadership throughout the month, where we speak about how women are helping the industry in growing and various ways of roles that they are taking up. So our next Regenesis program, as rightly Angela announced it, saying that synergy, what unlocks women and men driving growth together, is what we are talking about next Wednesday. That is going to be our 12th of March at 6:30 p.m. IST. Looking forward to see you there. And some other programs under the banner of Power of Knowing also are in line, so which we are published in our this one. With this, we would like to end our session or conclude our session. We have streamlined this program to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook altogether, and we hope this session has been valuable for you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Angela, for joining us. Thank you, Thomas. Good day and bye for now.
Thank you, Prem.
Thank you, Prem.
Thank you, Prem. Thank you. Thank you very much.